Alright, welcome to lesson 2 of Java programming using Eclipse. This episode or lesson, we will be going over more in depth on comments, and we're going to modify our hello line a little more with some different techniques and things we can use. And I'll go over a few terms and then we'll be ready to go. So let's start first. Up here, as you saw, I inserted what is known as a multiple line comment. There's many names for it. One second, I'll find the actual name for it. It is a traditional comment. There's many names for it, which is you put a forward slash and an asterisk, and then I would just hit enter and Eclipse will automatically close it for you. Normally you'll have to close it with another asterisk and a forward slash, but then in here we'll just put out, and as I was saying earlier, it's good programming practice to enter information about the program. So we'll write program that prints text over multiple lines, because that's what we're going to be showing earlier, or not earlier, in a little while. And we'll go down here and we'll do author, and then I'm just going to write your name, and then we're going to do date, and today's date is 9/16/2011, and right here I'm going to put the version number, which is going to be 1 right now. Alright, and then I'll show you the single line comment, which is very useful and helps programs become much more readable. The most common places, I use them at least, are at the end of lines such as public class texts or TextPrint, after this one, after the main string argument thing, and after your basic code. So here, this is 2 forward slashes, and then you don't have to space, but I usually do. And then here I would write states class name text print. And then down here we'll do it again, and we'll go main line start, or runs is better, runs application. And then down here we go prints line of text. And then I usually, even down here, for beginner's sake, I'll write this. Here we'll write ends method main, and right down here we'll write ends class text print. And this basically helps other programmers, like if you're in a company or a group project and you're transferring code back and forth, comments really help tell the other person, this is what I'm going for here, this is what it's supposed to do, in case you have a mistake or something like a syntax error or anything of that sense. And then there's also another comment that I don't completely understand. It's called the Javadoc comment, and I'll go down here for it. They are marked with a forward slash, 2 asterisks, and then as you can see, it does this, and then you close it with an asterisk and another forward slash. I can see it makes the stars here, but other than that, I believe it's for, in the way they make it sound when I was reading it, was it's for, let me find it here quick. It basically, here it states that it prepares it for HTML format. I also read that it's for importing like documents into your code, hence the Javadoc, I believe. I don't use that very much as of right now. I may later on if I learn more about it. For right now, in the beginning, I would just worry about those two comments there and just get in the habit of putting those down. So now we'll get into, let's do some basic information. We'll start with blank lines. I guess that's a good starting part. A blank line is it's called a white space or white space character. These are blank lines, space characters, tabs. They're designed to make a program easier to read. Like as you see here, there's space in between here and here. You don't need that. There's space in between. I usually go like this, let room be in there, space in between here, but there doesn't have to be. It spreads it out more, makes it easier to read, just like how the public static void main string args is tabbed in compared to public class. Use of white space characters is great. I highly recommend you do it because it makes things so much easier to read. Even in my comments up here, you notice I put like a space in between each line here, and it makes it easier to read than if I had up there and up here. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to retype, but you get the point. And so use those. Be careful with them, I guess. Don't go crazy with them and mess them up, but just very basic. Spacing helps it helps it to be easier read. So we'll move on a little more here. Let's talk about class declaration. As you can see here, this is the where we declare the class TextPrint. Oh, I don't know why that popped up. TextPrint, and it states that this class is named TextPrint, and the public states that it's public, as in obviously, so it can be used by other classes. There's also private, which we'll get into later. But classes usually start with a capital letter, and then a corresponding capital letter every other word. And that's basically it for that. We can go into more detail later. As I was saying, class and public static void, these are all keywords. And keyword are sometimes called reserved words, and they're reserved for use by Java. They're always spelled with lowercase letters, and they are as you see, they turn purple. They're basically what tell Java different things. Here, this tells public that TextPrint is a public class, and this tells that main string args it's public, it's static, and it's void, as in it doesn't return anything after it goes through, which we'll get into more later. And as I was mentioning, lowercase and capital, Java is case sensitive. If I change this to a P, or a capital P, this will no longer work, and I have an underline, and it's a syntax error, and it tells you that's wrong. It needs to be lowercase. Same with any of the other ones. That's also when this is gone, that becomes a syntax error. But it's case sensitive, so you should always lowercase the keywords, capitalize the first letter of a class, and then the first letter of every word after the first word in the class there. There are also, let's see, identifiers. I'm looking at some notes here. A series of characters, letters, using underscores and dollar signs that begin with a digit and does not contain spaces. So examples would be in this page that I have right here is welcome 1, which would be capital. Here, I'll write some down here. I'll put them in a comment for you. Why did that not work? There we go. Welcome 1 is a identifier, works. You could also do dollar sign. Here's the other example they have in their value, works. And you can do things like m underscore input field is another one they show here. And then they actually have a 1 on there. But you can't start with something like, let's say, 5 number. That doesn't work. It can't start with a number, and it can't have spaces in it, like it can't say welcome everyone like this. That won't work. So these here are no-nos. I'm going to call them no-nos, like when you were a child. But so these work here. It can't have spaces. It can have numbers in it. It can't start with a number. It can start with dollar signs, and it can have underscores like that. So that's pretty much it for those. I've talked about the braces a little bit, how if you open a brace, you have to close a brace. And you open one with a left, I believe. That's the left one. Yes. And then you close it with the right. And as I said, it's nice to keep them lined up. It helps just pay attention. It's easier to follow. Like I can see that this one right here is down here. And Eclipse does a nice thing where it'll put a little box around it, the one that is meant for that, which helps finding if you have any errors. Alright, I'm going to pause it and be right back quick. Alright guys, so I'm back. I have a few more minutes, so I'm going to just quickly show you how to separate this onto 3 or 2 lines, and then we'll continue with this in more detail in the next lesson. So if I want to put this onto multiple lines here, we need to use what are called new line. It's called a new line characters, however you want to say it, I guess. But basically it's designated by a backslash and an N, and then we'll put another one here. It's pretty simple. And now those will not show up in the text like down here. So we'll just run it quick, I guess, and I'll show you. And then here you see it says, hello, I hope you are learning, and it splits it where we told it to. There's other ways you could do that as well. You can do system.out.print and then hello, I hope, and then you can go down and create another system.out.println, and then do Java Pro, or I'm reading out of the book here. You can do you are learning or whatever, and it'll split it up the same. I would suggest using this. It's really not that difficult to remember, but it helps if you need to split it up for any reason. So I'm gonna count this lesson done here, and I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something.